The major problem we are having right now is UX. If you look at the average Web2 application, let's say TikTok, for example, study the user experience and you see how flawless it's designed to be. You install the app, you just start scrolling videos. You've not even signed up, you've started scrolling videos. And then when it's time to sign up, you can use your email or maybe use your Google account or other social options very seamlessly. Now compare that to your average crypto dApp. It's a whole different user journey for a new person.
You talked about some of the things that StackNet are doing that's quite different. How are they solving scalability and user experience that is different from the way Solana or Ethereum or whatever layers are solving these same problems?
What Stack is building that makes it different is lesser computation power needed to prove transactions, lesser fees as well. So the mechanism is designed in such a way that the higher the transaction load, the lower the fees. It's sort of like a logarithmic function.
You've seen firsthand how engagement can actually drive real growth for brands. You know all of these things, and you've handled massive engagement campaigns and growth marketing campaigns. What mistake founders make when they're trying to build a loyal community?
One of the most common mistakes here is they failing to realize that building a loyal community actually takes time. So a lot of founders these days, they feel increased metrics equate growth. But then growth could also be
Let's talk about your story. And this is the part I found particularly exciting when we're doing our research. How you studied chemical engineering. I saw the picture when you were actually doing the crypto evangelism in your class in school.
Yeah.
And then you worked on a multi-purpose role at the cafeteria at one point. And then how did you move from chemical engineering background to working a multi-purpose role and now end up in Web3 and working as a growth marketer at Hype? Like, the journey seems incredible. How did that happen?
Okay, so it's actually a pretty long story, so it will take a little while, but I love talking about this part because it brings back memories and everything. Yeah. So actually, the cafeteria experience was before I started school. Yeah, while I was in secondary school, I finished secondary school, and you know that break while you are writing JAM, you are between studying for JAM and writing your JAM university exams. So I was working in a cafeteria. So I took on many hats there. Accountant, cleaner, market guy. Go to the market. It was a vegetarian cafeteria sort of thing where they mix smoothies and everything. So that was before school. So I got into school, studied chemical engineering, and I think in my year 3 or 4, that was when I started getting interested in tech, right? I used to see a couple of my friends who were coding, but I was just look at it from far. And I think in my year 3 or year 4, I got to learn about crypto. That was when I think it was a defining moment in my life, because the circumstances I learned crypto, it was quite funny. So my phone got stolen in school, and that was my all and all. I had no laptop then, broke student. So my phone was my camera, my laptop, my everything. I used it to study for exams, used it to take pictures, Facebook and everything. So it got stolen, and I was like very distraught, It was the week before the exam, so I had to, patch up, borrow materials from friends, photocopy, use hard copy for that period of time. And after then, I realized I needed to make money. I was broke, and I'm not like from a rich home and all, because I could not just tell my dad, send me some money, let me get a new phone. I had, maybe say I couldn't even, get like food, steady feeding money. So, talk less of now getting a phone. So I had to do something. I realized I had to do something. So I just started looking for, then I knew that, okay, tech was a thing. You could make money online, but I did not know how. So what I did was during night classes during the nights when my peers were sleeping, my roommates in the hostel, I would pick up their phone. I would beg them, actually, please, can I use your phone for the night? I would, you know, subscribe to the night plan, data subscription. And then I would just start browsing for hours, how to make money online, how to get money, how to do this. And, you know, legitimately though, because I've never had the, you know, conscience to delve into illegitimate things, right? So during this night, there was a night I stumbled upon crypto. I saw Ethereum, I saw Dogecoin. This was in I think August 2017, by the way. And then I saw that in January of that same year, Ethereum was about 10, I think $10 or $30. I can't remember the exact value, either 10 or 30. And then Ethereum was now about $300. And I was like, whoa, what? If I had known about this and I bought this, I'll be in so much money, right? And I was like, And I was looking at other currencies and everything pumped. You know, apparently that was that bull run year of 2017. So my Google search changed from how to make money online to how to make free crypto because I did not have money yet. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was now looking for ways to get free crypto. And, you know, I stumbled upon Steemit and all of that. And I started doing Steemit. Steemit was a blogging platform. Then it was founded by Dan Larima and this other guy. I've forgotten his name. Forgotten the other guy's name. Dan Larima was the guy that eventually built EOS, which it didn't, you know, they raised $4 billion, but it did not work out yet.
Yeah.
So I was doing that and getting little money. And then later on, I got, you know, to do my IT here for, you know, industrial training. I came back to Lagos. And then that was also a life-defining moment for me because I just want to point out something. A lot of my experience in life has made me realize that disappointment sometimes turn into blessings, and it's a very popular saying, and I've related with it so well because I've seen it actually happen in my life. So many disappointments turning into blessings, right? So I came to IT. I studied chemical engineering, so ideally I wanted to work in a oil company, right? I had two people who worked in an oil company, right? They were in our congregation, right? A Christian congregation, and I had high hopes. I told them prior, like a year before, oh, I'm coming back so and so time, and I would love to be placed in Chevron, both of them in Chevron. So I came back, wrote the Chevron exams in Yaba, Lagos, and fingers crossed, I was waiting. 1 month passed, 2 months passed, 3 months passed, 4 months passed. I was checking in with them. There was no positive feedback. Today, it's I checked in with your results, nothing yet. The other person is, oh, there was a space in the office, but a lady took it. You know, and after 4 months, I asked myself, will this work? And I did not, you know, normally students forge their experience, right? They go, they stay at home the whole 6 months and then they come back to school and, you know, just fill their, their worksheets with fake experience and then they just defend it. And I don't, you know, I'm not one for that. I find it very hard lying, right? And I don't even have the strength to start defending all of those lies. So I knew I just had to go somewhere. So I went to a friend's place where my friend was placed in Oshodi. I was commuting from the island to Oshodi for long hours. I had to wake up 5. By the time I reached, it would be 9. When I went there, they said the pay is about, was it 3K monthly? And I told the woman, please let me come 3 days in a week. The woman said, don't worry, just come 2 days. Because she pitied me. She was like, where you're coming from is very far. Don't even bother coming for 3 days. Come for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, and I went. And by the end of everything, I sat myself down when I went back to school, my final year, and I asked myself, Ubong, normally on a normal day, you're a soft boy, you don't like all this stress of, you know, Web2 corporate world, right?
Yeah.
You've seen this experience, right? This is your IT, and you found it hard to get a placement. Before I went to Oshodi, I went around the island, different oil companies, different manufacturing companies, looking for, you know, submitting my CV and saying, oh, I just need to be placed somewhere. And bro, there was no positive feedback. And I thought about everything and I asked myself, this is IT. this is supposed to be easier, right? Because it's IT.
Yeah.
What would you do? Is this how you do when you finish, you graduate, you finish serving, doing NYSC, and you start going about? And that was when I made a decision. I said, no, I don't want to go through all of this. So my final year was, I already started learning coding in like beginning of year 4, but I wasn't serious. So I fired down. I was learning Python. I think I was also doing photography then. I was also doing blockchain learning, doing different things, taking on a lot, right? Because I wanted something that would, sustain me when I left school. So I don't get stranded like the way it was. So I finished school, right? And then I think that was around that period, 2020, that heavy bear run that started since like 2018. I'd almost given up on crypto, right?
Yeah, I
But so
remember.
I knew about crypto jobs, but I did not have good knowledge, right? I wanted to still do crypto. Then I was surviving on photography. But so that was when I realized the power of information, right? Having a good network, having a community. That was where I realized that, right? So I think in 2020, I think Q1 or Q2, I talked with a friend, Amek. He's in the UK now. His name is Amek, right? We also worked at Hype together. So we've not met before, right? So we've just been like mutual friends. We were blogging together on Steam Meet. We just had contact, but we weren't talking much. And so, that after a long while catching up, what's been good? What's been happening in your life? How has it been? And I just poured out my heart to him. Bro, it's been tough. I've given up on crypto. I've been doing photography, this and that. And his first reaction was one of surprise. Like, are you serious? You are really struggling. I thought you were doing something or maybe running a job. I said, no, bro, I'm struggling. No, I don't have it. Show me the way. He just puts me
Yeah.
on. And then he just sent me 2 messages, right? He told me about ambassador jobs, and then he sent me 2 messages. The first message was a list of about 30 plus jobs, links to ambassador jobs. The second message was do's and don'ts, about 10 to 15 tips on applying for jobs. And bro, I just applied, right? I applied to all of them. I think Algorand ambassador job was there, Polygon ambassador job was there. And that's just how my story started. I got in, and then we got
Wow.
he had a community then. But that community, I think Joshi Smart was there, OX Tochi too was there. Then we were just like, newbies and all. We are still trying to get jobs. Although they are bigger than me now, Sha. They are big influencers. But then we were there and everybody was applying to jobs. All of them were surprised. I got in Algorand where all of them, Algorand was paying as high as 700 to $1K then, right? So it was really huge. So, that was where I realized the power of community. We're always trying to help each other grow. So from there, I worked with Algorand, and I think from Algorand, that's where I got the link up to work with Hype. I was the coordinator of the program, right? The program finished. I was always courteous with him, Then the program was a bit chaotic because they paid a lot of money, right? And it depended on your work output. So there was a lot of ambassadors, and the program lead was cutting short a lot of tasks. So he didn't want too many tasks because of the budget. And then there were a lot of Nigerians always clamoring, not only Nigerians though, Indians, plenty different people. Oh, they want more tasks, this and that. But me, I always went with a very courteous approach. Hi, what are my tasks for the month? If he gave me very small, I knew that there would not be much. I would want to still get more, but I'll do it in a very polite way. And I was also doing content. So after the program finished, I think 3 months later, he hits me up and he was like, would you like to work with, he works with an agency, would you like to, work with Hype? And I was like, yes, why not? And then he sent me the offer letter. And first thing I did was my mouth just opened. I was like, what? It was crazy. Like, it was like 10x or, let's say 5x of what I was earning cumulatively from the ambassador programs. So yeah, and I got in, started working, although it was crazy at first, workload was mad, but it was my first time. I think I got in April. In October, I had a very crazy burnout. I had to take 1 month off and just chill out. And, eventually I got used to the work and everything.
So that's exactly how your career as a Web3 growth marketer literally, wow. I mean, it's a chaotic experience. One of the things I've come to agree and understand is that everybody has completely different story. If I open my mouth and tell you my own story,
For real, I can relate.
you just give me hug first. You say, bro, you're trying. Oh my God. It's quite exciting because when we look at Web3 growth marketing in sense and pretty much exactly what it looks like in Web3. One of the things I know about you is that you've been very vocal around certain topics like scalability. If anybody reads your Medium blogs a lot, it's one of the first things you come to understand how you talk about the importance of scalability, the importance of user experience, being some of the biggest bottlenecks with blockchain adoption or the adoption of blockchain solutions in themselves. But this is what I think, generally speaking, that most people still don't see these as urgent problems in the space, and there are still certain dApps experiences that are broken in terms of UX in that kind of sense. But why do scalability and UX matter so much for not just marketers but for the space entirely when we come to look at it?
Okay, so yeah, you have to look at it from the standpoint of users basically. Basically, blockchain is a tech, and then people are actually using. What's the importance of the blockchain? It was created to make things being efficient, right, across different sectors, right? So scalability is basically just the capacity, right? A blockchain's ability or capacity to handle load, make it usable for the average user, fees being cheap and speed, right? Then UX is just simply the user experience, right, of crypto users, the normal interactions and how they affect usability, right? So these are just basic. They're actually crucial problems. Why? Because they affect mass adoption, right? Most time you see that one of the north stars of blockchain tech is onboarding users, massively onboarding users from the Web2 and
Next one.
traditional world. You said?
I said they always say we are onboarding the next 1 billion users.
Good, exactly. The next 1 billion users, exactly. That's the word. So for scalability, right? I think we are getting there because there are new solutions that have been, developed recently to, scale the blockchain, scale layer ones like layer two solutions. You've noticed that I'm always talking a lot about StackNet here. So that's one of the solutions, right? With their proving mechanism, validity proofs, and all of that to make transactions cheaper, make the experience also seamless. But for me, I think the major problem we are having right now is UX, right? That's one of the major problems. I think scalability will be solved more faster than the UX problem. If you look at the average Web2 application, let's say TikTok, for example, study the user experience and you see how flawless it's designed to be. You install the app, you just start scrolling videos. You've not even signed up, you've started scrolling videos. And then when it's time to sign up, you can use your email or maybe use your Google account or other social options very seamlessly, right? Now compare that to your average crypto dApp. It's a whole different user journey for a new person, right?
Yeah.
To access the protocol, first and foremost, you're opening a dApp and they are telling you connect a wallet. You try to connect a wallet, you are saying, okay, you need to install a wallet extension, which requires you to create a wallet and save private keys. For a new user, these are very, foreign concepts to them. Okay, they are done with that. You sign in with your wallet. They then realize, they need to fund that wallet, either using a card or getting it from an exchange. And then they have to go through that rigorous journey of understanding these concepts like gas fees, gas prices, and a whole lot. And you see that there will be a whole lot of churn, right? A lot of guys might just be like, you know what, F it. I'm not doing again. I'm just, and it actually happens, right? A lot of people who discover crypto first time, they want to do something, but then you would see people that said, they knew about Bitcoin in like 2017 or 2018. but they just left it because it was a bit complex. They did not understand what to do and all. Right. And then they are now coming back in 2024 when they could have, harnessed the opportunities and all of that, leverage all of the opportunities. So that's just the whole thing with the UX. But I think we are improving, right? We are improving, we are growing in the ecosystem. Dapps are now being designed to be easy to use. You see Phantom, for example, lately they've grown very high, in terms of app rankings. Why? Because they've made their UX very seamless, right? And then you'd see that there's also concepts being developed lately, like account abstraction, right? Where wallets they do not need to be secured with private keys. They can use social verifications to, secure their wallet. And then transactions. Sorry?
So I think they call them passkeys or something like that. I'm not sure what it is.
Yes. Exactly. Passkeys. Yeah. So transactions don't need to be signed manually as well, right? So I believe with time, these are actually bottlenecks right now, but with time they would be removed. So it's just a thing of, just as well as in as much as they are innovating, they should also UX should also be, touched on as well, improved for the builders.
Let's talk about take a bit step back towards you mentioned StackNet. Everything I know about StackNet as of now comes from your videos. I'm not I'm not on my own open StackNet. I didn't farm it. I don't farm. To be honest, I say most man doesn't farm. I don't farm. So everything I know about StackNet, pretty much it's watching your videos on X and some of your videos on YouTube as well. So you helped me out here. You talked about some of the things that StackNet are doing that's quite different. How are they solving scalability and user experience that is different from the Whistle Solana or Ethereum or whatever layers are solving these same problems? How is theirs different? And what are the solutions that they are bringing to make user experience a bit more seamless, a bit more fun, to reduce churn, like you mentioned?
Okay. So this is something I'm not really a technical person, but I have a very, slight idea about this. So StackNet, you notice first and foremost, right? Most times, when people forward StackNet, they are forwarding based on, the past airdrop they did, they said it was pretty unfair. Then they also talk about, it's just 8 users on the chain, right? They talk about not much users. So you notice that I was talking with Odin, I think yesterday. I think we were having a chat on Telegram, and I think something about the same conversation, right? There was a comment, a post someone made, he was talking about StackNet, and then a guy was like bashing StackNet, saying there are no grants and all of that. And then I was like, how would you say that? You are not in this ecosystem. And then someone else I bashed that guy, not like I bashed him, I set him straight, dropped links to, nullify his false claims. And then someone else mentioned something which made sense. He brought up a Dune analytic dashboard. I said the average users on StackNet is 3K daily active users, which was very true. Now, I was talking about that with Odin, and he mentioned that StackNet has been focused on the tech, right? For the past few years, that's been their major focus. If you see one of the co-founders of StackNet, Ben Sasson, is the mad-ass math genius and all of that. He literally created, Stack proofs, right? So what Stack is building that makes it different, right? There's been a recent development which they called, so let me start from the beginning, which is validity proof. So like I mentioned, I'm not really a technical guy, but the idea with what Stack does, right, with validity proofs is for transactions to be proved, right? For transactions to be proven, you do not need much computation, right? There's a formula being used. Which is, I think I studied it recently, but now it's really fogged in my head. They use polynomials to, convert transactions to, lower polynomials. And then the whole end goal of all of that is lesser computation power needed to prove transactions, lesser fees as well. So The mechanism is designed in such a way that the higher the transaction fees load, the lower the fees. It's sort of like a logarithmic function, right? So
Yeah.
the blockchain is designed in such a way that the higher the amount of transactions, the lower the fees. So it's basically designed to scale, right? For it to work very efficiently, there should be load on the network.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's been some recent back and forth here. Optimism, I think Optimism, they were talking about the blob issue where I think Optimism and Ethereum too, where in a little while the transaction the network will get clogged and all of that. And then Stackware was actually designed to with these problems in mind, right? Such that we don't have this problem. It's designed to scale infinitely. And then I think it's probably the only blockchain that's quantum resistant too. It can be hacked, even with quantum computing. So there's a whole lot of, if you look at it critically, StackNet is arguably the best layer 2 network, just that it doesn't have that much traction, right?
Yeah.
And we live in like the whole crypto ecosystem is like an attention economy where the ones making the loudest noise or having the most attentions are deemed as the best, right?
Yeah.
If you think about L2s, what comes first? What comes first to your mind? Arbitrum, right? Optimism. Yeah, because they have the attention. It doesn't mean they are not good tech, but then Stackware is like arguably the best. But why is it not talked about much? Because of the attention. Attention is not on them. But recently, right, I think a day or two ago, according to the rankings, it's just topped Linear as the cheapest L2 in terms of transaction fees. Linear has been up there. Linear, one of the team members had to even, acknowledge it, or he made it in a very joking way, right? He was like, "Oh, it became lonely at the top. We've been up there for so long, congrats and all of that." So, over time, StackNet would, they would get that top spot, which they rightly deserve, right? Eventually, like we mentioned, we were talking about user experience. They're also building for that. Earlier, we were talking about user experience. If you look at, they have this thing called cartridge. It's like a plugin, right? So if you want to game on StackNet, right, it employs this whole concept of account abstraction, right? So where you want to game on StackNet and you just use your ID or your pass keys, or you log in, and then you don't need to approve transactions. You just approve ones and then you just game infinitely without approving anything, right? Cartridge makes that possible with something they call session keys.
What you're saying right now with cartridges, because I work in the gaming sector, you understand? So if you want to, if you're gaming and you want to make an action, let's say you want to buy an asset, you have to always approve, sign in, or approve. So is it that with the cartridges, you don't have, once you approve once, you don't have to do that again over and over again?
Yeah, exactly.
That's smart. Very smart.
So it eliminates all those transaction pop-ups, during gameplay that are very, very annoying. And you just, it submits it on behalf of you. Yeah, basically that.
That's smart. Yeah. It makes it removes, because there's a lot of friction in that. It just removes the friction and makes it smooth.
Yes, exactly.
Smart. Now, again, all my knowledge of StackNet comes from you. But when we talked about dApps the other time, and you mentioned what's the name again? Phantom. Yeah. Phantom is not in my field, right? dApps currently. I mean, I use the whole lot. I was reading yesterday, and they said they now support multi-currency. Thank you. Yes, that. But aside from Phantom in itself, what other dApps do you find interesting in crypto that you use like on a daily basis?
I don't use a lot though, because I, as much as I'm an on-chain maxi, I use plenty. I actually use plenty. That's the thing. I use plenty. So There are so many I use, but I think it depends on the sector, right? Depends on the sector. One, okay, let me just mention one. One I enjoy really using, right? So still talking about Phantom is a wallet. Another one is Agent Wallet. It's on
I've not used
StackNet. Yeah, Agent Wallet still has a lot of beautiful features too.
that.
Somehow like Phantom, right? Somehow like Phantom. Then I also enjoy using I think Jumper a lot.
I
I
think that.
love using Jumper because yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's still the same thing of user experience here. Everything being seamless. You see this problem of bridging. Right now, if I want to swap, maybe I'm trying to do like cross-chain interactions, right? What comes to my mind first is okay, what decks am I using? Because I use so many. I'm sure you can relate, right?
Bro, I recently found a solution for it. A relay. Relay is incredible, bro.
Good, exactly. That one
My
too, yes.
when I used it for the first time, I was like, where was this all these years?
You get exactly.
Yeah.
Because you want to swap, and the first thing that comes to your mind is because there are so many chains, right, in your head, and now you are trying to remember, okay, what chain am I swapping from? Okay,
Yeah.
good. What dexes are enabled on that chain? And then you start going through your head, and it's somehow very
You need to
stressful.
wrap the native token or not. Like it's
You get, yeah,
oh,
exactly. But then, these cross-chain bridges like Jumper, aggregators, I think, yeah, aggregator bridges, Jumper Relay, they just make it easy. Just one click, click your chain, click your token. And so apps like these are what I love. They actually solve key problems. They make the user experience very seamless and easy.
mhm. That's um I saw a tweet from Cap. I'm not sure you know him. He's the lead for Super Team UK. Super Team is the community arm of Solana. Like
Yeah,
yeah, there's also Super Team Nigeria. I get
yeah.
Harry B and Unzube. They are
This will
the
be, yeah, I know them.
yeah, exactly. So Cap is the team lead. Cap and one other guy, I think Archie or so. And he said product, UX, and UI. He was saying that in relation to these are the three key things that we need as in the crypto space. And it got me thinking in Web3, following our conversations that do we tend to overcomplicate things when the real focus should be these three fundamentals?
Mm.
What do
Yeah.
you think on that?
Okay. So yeah, I think I would agree with him. But for me, it's sort of like a two-edged sword, right? So
Yeah.
I agree with it because yes, we actually overcomplicate things. But I think I also appreciate the continuous innovation, ideas, infrastructure being built, right? So let me explain it. We talked earlier on the average. We explained earlier on. The average user is concerned about user experience, right? They are not bothered about what happens under the hood, right? They are not concerned with, you know, proving mechanisms or layer one,
Yeah.
how the, what's the mechanism being used, right? What's the
Yeah.
infrastructure? They are not concerned about that. Right now, builders they are prioritizing, giga brain infrastructure and ideas over actual seamless user experiences. And you'd see that it's a nightmare for these average users, the normies, like we call them, right? They just want dApps that look and work like the traditional apps they are used to, like the TikTok we mentioned earlier on. They don't want to be bothered with gas fees, private keys, and every other complex thing that complicates the user experience. So you'd see that, yeah, I agree with Cap. Product UX UI, they are very, very important. And you see that the projects that will make it, or the projects having really, really good traction right now, are the ones that are thinking about the mainstream users and building consumer apps that, abstract away the complexity of crypto. You get, so those are the ones that are really having good traction, making these things easy. But then I also said it's a two-edged sword because yeah, these giga brain ideas and infrastructures, they are also very, very much needed because I mean, how do we evolve as an ecosystem? When was Bitcoin created? 2009,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, proof of work mechanism.
Yeah.
Vitalik studied Bitcoin and he thought of Ethereum. Said, okay, there could be a mechanism that could be better, right? Which is proof of stake, right?
Yeah.
If I'm being correct, yes. And then he created Ethereum, which enabled, it was like a base layer where other um ideas and utilities could be built upon,
Yeah.
right? And then you see that over time, over the years, like recently, okay, Celestia they came with a concept of modular blockchains, right?
Yeah.
Concept of modularity. Lately, we've seen, okay, layer 2 chains came, right? To scale layer 1 blockchains, right? To make it easy. And then you see on top of the layer 2 chains, there are other concepts being built like roll-ups and,
Yeah.
sequencers and all of that to still make those layer 2 scale better with,
Yeah.
off-chain computation and all of that. So, like I said, it's a two-edged sword, right? It seems like we overcomplicate things, but then these ideas, these innovations need to still be built, right?
Mm.
Because that's how we evolve as an ecosystem. That's how we keep on being better. That's how we keep on, thinking better ideas. So basically, right, the thing to do is, in as much as we have the giga brains, right? The math nets, the ZK nets, the people that are doing the crazy maths and trying to make the blockchain evolve, we should also be thinking about the UX as well. These things are underneath. These are the base layer. How do we make the experience, right, easy for the average users so they are not concerned with all of these complex, concepts and all of that? So yeah, that's my take on that.
I think I agree with you that it's a two-edged sword. We kind of need both experiences.
Yes.
Because when you were talking, I remember I was reading one of Kofi's posts. OX Kofi is the data analyst. Punch
Okay.
data. He was talking about gasless
The
transactions.
Ghanaian guy, I think I know him.
Kenyan guy, yeah.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
was talking
yeah.
about
I know.
gasless transactions. There are some protocols that they are now offering gasless transactions where you make transactions without
Yeah.
making gas.
I think like
And
running.
yeah, I think that's incredible. You understand? But as much as that solves a lot of problem in terms of the UX and UI and the product, we still need to be able to scale. Yeah, you understand? And we still see
Yeah.
people. Now you're seeing protocols like bringing near intents, AI intents, um,
Yes.
in those things. When I think over time, we might simplify the complex ideas, but we still need more complex ideas to simplify over as we keep going. So
Yeah.
I agree that it's a two-edged sword. Actually, for a data analyst, I write a lot of SQL codes and write analysis on Flipside and Dune once in a while. When you look at the under the hood, like you mentioned, you said users don't concern themselves on what's happening on below. But if you're analyzing a protocol, you're trying to understand what's really happening, it's very confusing. Bro, it's very
Yeah.
confusing because so a user can make a transaction, and you need to now track, okay, which protocol did they interact with when they interacted
Yeah.
with, or which bridge did they now use. Try to follow the entire pattern and what needs to be approved. It can be very confusing. So
Yes.
I think for the users, they don't have to burden themselves on that, and keeping it that balance on two-edged sword is very key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. And one other thing we can try to do to simplify things is content. What do you think? Creating more content, like you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Well,
For people who know Ubong, Ubong creates some of the most exciting video content. Now, I know some of your old videos, and when I look at the good ones and I look at the new ones, I say, one go cannot do something. Yeah, I mean, the book is one of the most exciting videos. And really content explaining really technical stuff, explaining airdrop opportunities. Like I said, me, I don't farm. Like, but I do think some of the videos that you create and many content creators create simplify a whole lot of things, make it very simple to use. I think it's simpler when you see somebody do it, you can replicate it, right?
Yeah.
trying to understand these things yourself. And that was the
Yeah.
case way back 2000 and 2020, 2019. We didn't have many content creators explaining technical things like we do now.
Yes.
Yeah. So looking at content creation as one of the ways to simplify product usage, being a content creator that Agba Chief, you understand? What's the hardest part of being a Web3 content creator that people do not talk about?
Okay, well, so I would say this is a relative question because it depends on individual personal perspective.
Very true.
Personally, yeah, I would say it's the discipline, yeah, discipline and consistency needed to keep going, right? It's really not easy doing something over and over again. It's actually exciting, right? And that's why you see a lot of folks, right? They'll be like, yo, I'm starting video content, I'm starting being a creator. Yeah, watch out for my content. And everybody's in the comment, yo, congrats. I'm hyped, super stoked to see your content. Yo, go for it. And then one or two videos come out, and after that, nothing, nothing again. And maybe they come after like maybe 2 months. Yo, sorry for the breaking content. I've been choked up. Okay, video coming out, they post 2 months, and then it's just like 3 or let me say 2 in 10 that actually keep going at it. So that discipline and consistency. And I'm actually talking from personal experience and
Yeah.
my friend experience too. When I started, you see my very first video, I said, oh, I'm back to content creation. It took me about 2-3 months before I posted another video, and then I started trying to be consistent. And then, yeah, the burnout too. There are points where it gets so, draining, both physically and mentally. And yeah, you could just say, no, I'm not interested in this anymore. So for me, that's the hardest part. I'm sure other content creators would probably have the same sentiment or different ones. So yeah.
True. Last year, I started creating videos as well. I think I used to do this thing where I run in the night. So I do prayer walks and I just run. So I
Okay.
think I was just one of my sprint. I was like, I'm going to start creating content. I think I created about 6 contents in a bounce. I've not created any content since. Reasons being that reasons being that okay, I was using my iPhone and my iPhone was getting hot. I needed to change the gear. I just got a DSLR, by the way, because I want to get back to content. Same with the podcast, same with the newsletter. It can be hot, like to keep that momentum. What are the structures you think content creators can actually put in place to ensure that there is that bounce effect where they keep consistently doing these things, and there's no drop off effect where after like 4 or 5 videos, these things they just drop out. Like, what are the some things you've implemented has worked for you? How do you put those in place here?
Yeah, I love this question because I think it's something anybody going into content should even know, because you're starting something new. There's always that excitement, right? And you might not even think about, oh, how will it turn out? So I believe putting systems in place really, really helps. First and foremost, you should ask yourself, why am I going into content? You should have a North Star. You should have a purpose for going into that. You want to achieve something, right? There should be a purpose, not just going into it because, oh, you see people are creating content. There's nothing wrong in doing that, right? It's okay to be motivated by people, right? You see someone doing something interesting and good, and you want to emulate that. There's nothing wrong. But then within you should have a North Star, like, okay, why am I going into this? And why is that? For moments where you do not feel that drive, you do not feel motivated, you are down, that North Star is what pushes you up. You tell yourself, okay, this is why I got into this in the first place. I need to stand up and write a script, put on the camera and start creating content because of this, not just because so when you look beyond the motivation and the whole burnout, you do it irrespective of how you are feeling or what your mood is. You do that. So that really helps. First and foremost, having a North Star. It could be a goal, it could be a purpose, it could be something you want to achieve with that video content, right? Then secondly, discipline really helps, right? The average person is not disciplined. The average person, see, I'm the worst person when it comes to discipline. I could just wake up and just start scrolling TikTok. Like, I could just, and it really killed me, right? It really killed me with regards productivity and all of that. But then it got to a point where I knew that if I really want to grow, right, I see myself as lucky because sometimes I tell myself the opportunities I've had, if it's left to how some people see me, they feel I'm really proactive. Yeah, I do a lot. But if you look at it with, the amount of time I have in a day, I'm not really that productive because most of the day I'm glued on my chair, right? I don't have much time for like other activities, which I'm trying to change, right? I hardly exercise, right? I'm not that fit. Yeah, I hardly go out for social activities, except maybe a few nights where I just need to just chill off in a lounge or somewhere and just, just touch some grass, right? But then like other activities, right? The only activities are just like spiritual activities where I have to go out and
Yeah.
do stuff we get. So I'm not really that productive. So I realized I needed to, instill discipline. So I put systems in place. I had to whip up a calendar, right? Okay, Mondays, this is my schedule, and I have to go through with it. So that really helps having discipline. And then I think another thing is having accountability partners or a community. That too is very underrated. It really helps. It really, really helps. Have someone. If you are doing something, it's easier when you do it in a group than doing it alone. You could be a lone wolf. You could do it. Doesn't mean you can't do something alone. But in most times it is easier because those times when you are down, you have a community behind you. They are motivating you, or maybe you have someone that is okay. Every week we are putting out 3 pieces of content, and then you are having days, and then maybe on Mondays you're supposed to put out a video, and your accountability partner is like, "Yo, brother, what's up? Where's your video?" And then you share what made you not put out the video, and they encourage you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it goes, it's reciprocated. So they too are also, down, and then you encourage them. That helps too. So I think
Right.
those are the things that really helps to, build consistency
Mm,
and,
That's
continually, putting out content. And then one last thing, finding a way to enjoy what you are doing. The moment it starts being like work, it starts becoming a job, right? The
yeah.
motivation, it dies slowly. So yeah, and I'm sure you can relate. I'm sure you can
Perfect,
relate.
bro. And one reason why I stopped creating because I was like, I need to write the script because my video content creation process was too long. I need to write SQL data, analyze data, create a dashboard, understand it, come up with a narrative,
Mm,
and then explain, bro. The motivation dies slowly. They're the very good deaths. I'm
mm,
literally, I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm just trying to pick it up again and trying to play around certain things and doing exactly what you're talking about. So I currently doing things with my partner and my partner Joel, who is also a co-host on this podcast. Um,
mm.
and we got head of research. We had someone to be handling the research aspect of things, try to delegate as much things as possible. Had someone to handle the graphics because I figured that doing everything yourself, and then you still have to work full time. You understand?
Yeah.
It can be a lot. You understand? So, for example, uh, we're talking about your podcast sessions. He's like, have you worked on the questions? I'm like, bro, I've not worked on the questions. Like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's do this. Let's like it makes it a bit faster. There's a bit of quickness to it. If he's down, I'm going to push. If I'm down, he's going to push. So I completely agree with that. Having a partner or a community that really like actually hold you accountable, it helps.
Yes. Yes.
People underestimate it. It helps, bro, because many things we are trying to do this year left to me, bro. Yeah,
You give up.
I'll give up to you. It's because it can be a lot. It can be a lot.
Yeah.
Um, when we look at your videos, let's talk about videos. There are quite a number of people that I love the way they create videos. The attention to details. People think video is just a small thing, chief. I'm watching, I'm learning lighting, how to set up lights, bro. It's not
Yeah.
like the softbox and the background light, all this kind of stuff. It can be a lot. What is your framework for actually setting up a proper video shoot, in a sense where you're a solo content creator, there's no massive budget, you're just starting out? Like, what are the things to actually take into consideration? Coming from someone who's started without so many things, and now you begin to integrate a lot of exciting things, particularly when you edit the video and everything. What are some of the things that people need to pay attention to? What tools can they use? How can they literally start creating content? Yeah.
Okay. So I always like to when people want to start content, I have a couple friends, and it really makes me glad because they see what I'm doing and they feel spurred, spurred on to start creating content. Couple of them, yeah. So one advice I give them is most times, yeah, just start. Just start. Immediately you think of it and you've realized, oh, this is something I would love to do. Just start, right? Don't think about the fancy lights, the fancy setup and everything, because it's a very, very, how will I put it? It's a very, very serious pitfall a lot of people fall into, overthinking things, stalling, the process of beginning creating content. Why? Because they want everything to be perfect, right? And I fell into that pitfall too, because, I wanted to have the best gear. I already had a very good camera. I already had, from my photography background, I had lights, I had soft boxes. I wanted it to be more perfect. And then when it became perfect, I started, right? And then I realized that the most important thing was not even that perfect setup. It was building consistency, right? Building consistency. So that's why I tell people, when you want to start, right, just start. If you have an iPhone, a good camera, get a stand, get one light, set it up, get a good mic, get a very good background for your videos in your house or probably workspace or wherever, your room, your sitting room, wherever. Put it and just start creating content. Tell yourself, okay, I'm making 2 videos a month, a week rather, and just go with that. And then you just improve along the way, right? And then another thing is, people should also learn a lot. It's one thing I do. I love this phrase, stealing like an artist. Omo, you see my videos and you think, oh, it's unique. No, I just love learning from people, right? I learn from places, I learn from people, I watch YouTube tutorials, I study top creators, what they are doing in terms of like delivery, lighting, editing too. My editing is not actually perfect for me now because there's a certain level I'm trying to attain, where attention grabbing editing from the first second you are hooked till
Yeah.
midway or through. So that's what I tell people. Learn a lot. Draw inspiration from anywhere and everywhere. Right? You could see a Web2 video, something on TikTok. Take inspiration from there and just start creating, right?
Yeah.
What else? Yeah. Learn editing. I believe it's good to, in as much as you are not trying to overthink things, it's also nice to make sure that you are also delivering quality, right? You might not have the best camera, you might not have um, the best lighting, yeah? But then you should, what's the word now? You should fill in for that with other aspects. So what content are you delivering? Somebody might have, the maddest camera and the best workspace, right? And is literally spraying shit, right? He's just
Quite true.
sitting in front of the camera and is not offering value. And someone with an iPhone, like I can really relate with this. I see very, like on TikTok, I'll see some guys, right? They have a very mad ass space and they don't have much views. And then you see someone doing just a selfie video. He's consistent.
Yeah.
But people are really vibing with what that person always shares. They actually anticipate their videos. And you see, they have 20, 50K followers. They don't have any fancy setup. So, yeah, content really matters what you are delivering. You're editing too. You're editing. You might not have a very, very mad ass lighting, but the way you are catching people with hooks, right? Your editing is very sharp. People are not getting bored with that. That really helps. Then I would reiterate what you mentioned earlier on. It might not relate for starters, right? But eventually, as we grow, getting a team would really help, right? Getting a team would really help. Somebody working with you, right? At a point, I started outsourcing my stuff gradually. At a point, I was doing everything. I script, I set up my space, I shoot, I edit, I design my thumbnails, I post, everything. I'm researching and all of that, and it literally drained me, right? So I started outsourcing gradually. So I started outsourcing my designs. Why? Because it was draining me, and there are people who could do it better. So it was a no-brainer,
Yeah.
right? And then gradually, yes, exactly. Then gradually, a bit. I still do some of my scripting, but sometimes I outsource them, and that's still like I still scrutinize it very well. I make sure it's like perfect to what I want. And at a point, I tried outsourcing my editing, but it was a bit, in as much as it felt a bit expensive. I paid for one, and I felt it wasn't. It was compared to me editing myself. It was time efficient. Like it was time efficient for me to do it myself because before the video came out, it took like 4 days after back and forth, right? If I finish shooting now and I start editing this morning, by night time I'm done, right? Although it takes like say 5-6 hours, but I'm editing to my taste, right? I know where I want a certain sound effect to be. I know what effects I want to be here. I know how my hook should be, right? I know the music I want. I know how I want to collaborate, right? So, I'm just at the point where I'm finding that balance. And then I'll just end it with this. It's a slow grind, right? It's always a slow grind. It doesn't come very fast. That's the advice I always give people. You learn and learn and you improve along the way, which is why you start ASAP, right? You don't wait till it's perfect. Just put out content. You get feedback from people. Your audio is a bit, bad. Okay, nice. Next video, you try and improve your audio. The next video, somebody says, "Oh, I love this, but can you talk more about this?" Or you focused on this.
Feedback.
Over time, you get, and then nothing is sweeter. And I'm talking from personal experience because I can relate with it. Nothing is sweeter than hearing compliments from your friends or your audience about how much your content quality has increased. And improved. Exactly. Like you hear that and you feel warm inside knowing that yes, you're actually doing this right. And they won't know or see the improvement if it's perfect from the onset, right? Or will you improve again? So just start, and then those improvements along the way are, one of the joys of creating, and that's what motivates you, right? When you hear those comments, you are gingered. Okay, yes. Once you hear that, okay, carry camera, I go shoot video now like this. So that's just it.
Very true. I think I completely agree with that. I won't even lie, because when we started Web3 GM, it did not look like this. In fact, it was a monologue. Just me.
Yeah, I remember. Because did you remember when we first met? I told you I used to listen to your pod because then I was really interested in growth marketing. I just started working with Hive. So I used to actually listen. It was just you talking, and I actually really enjoyed them because these were like, as much as they were monologues, they were like really valuable insights on growth. So I remember.
So I would pick up. So work on campaigns, pick up my understanding from the campaign, some of the things we did, and I'll write it as a blog, and I will spit the blog out. Like as a monologue. That's how we started. And now we are trying to now not just talk about what I know, but talk about what other people, amazing people, giga brains like you know as well. And it's changed. Like the branding has changed, the level of detail, the amount of detail we put into questions, bro. And I'm learning. I started learning that from this guy, Stephen Bartlett, the guy behind Diary of a CEO. The amount of detail he puts into his question, how he talks. I'm studying founders, how the guy behind founders talk. I'm looking at Drew Rogan. We analyze other people's podcasts, tear them down, look at mechanisms behind it just to improve ours. You understand? So when we talk about you grew over time, bro, I think the biggest work comes in looking at what other people are doing and trying to find your own skin around it and make it work for you. It takes time.
Yes.
That bit take time, and I think that's where the value is. That's when you now do something new. People are like, bro, this is unique. Like it's still like, yeah, still it's just it's good as it. Yes, so I think I could be agree with that. I have to be honest. Earlier you were talking about communities, and you talked about how important the community is to people, not just for feedback, but over time when you start creating content, you tend to be your own community, indirectly or directly. That's what I tend to believe. You tend to have your own following, your audience. You might not need to capture them in a Discord channel or a Telegram channel, but you have a community channel. So you might many creators might not need to hold them in a Telegram or Discord. Maybe they might have a newsletter, whatever. I do think that crypto brands in that same sense live and die by their communities. The strength of your community really matters a lot. When you look at the Azuki issue and how the community rallied around the founder, you see how incredible it is. When you look at how many other brands, look at what's happening in Ethereum right now. See what happened in Solana. Yes, and you see brands and protocols live and die by their communities. And I know that you've seen firsthand how engagement can actually drive real growth for brands, not just in TV, but in terms of activity and everything. My question now is, you know all of these things, and you've handled massive engagement campaigns and growth marketing campaigns. What's that one mistake founders make when they're trying to build a loyal community around their protocol, around their solution? What's the one mistake they tend to always make that if they don't make it, it could actually improve their chances of building something really exciting?
Okay, so I think one of the most common mistakes here is they failing to realize that building a loyal community actually takes time. It actually takes time. So a lot of founders these days, they feel increased metrics equate growth, right? Increased metrics are actually growth. Your Twitter followers are increased, your Discord is growing. But then growth could also be inorganic, right? There's organic and there's inorganic growth. So a lot of them, they are always trying to accelerate this growth, which should take time, right? And it's something I've related with, right? With working with an agency, you see a client coming and they are saying, oh, they want X amount of Twitter followers or X amount of Discord followers in 3 months. And you realize that there's no way to get that organically. Like it's possible, but it's very, very rare. It's not the best thing to do, right? The fastest way is getting that inorganically. And that is why you'd now go to a Discord server. They have 20K members. And then there's just like 10 to 15 active members, right? And most times you see that these people, they were onboarded through campaigns like giveaways or some sort of incentives, which is what attracted them, right? So this is a very, very common mistake that founders make. In building a loyal community, time has to be taken to find your core believers, right? Community members who are down for you, who actually believe in your ethos, right? They believe in what you are building. They are down to, defend your tech wherever and whenever. You see them on Twitter fighting, going, into ecosystem wars. These are the people you identify first. And then you start building your community around these core believers. Now there are different mechanisms or initiatives in which this can be built. If you want to go into this, it will take time, but then the idea is just finding your core believers and building the community around these core believers and this circle, right? Gradually expanding the circle. So with this strategy, the numbers might not be much at first, but eventually the growth would come. And then you'd have, a vibrant, bustling community. You see communities, some projects that are doing this very well, like Monad, Eclipse, Perachin, and the rest. You've seen that they've done it very organically, right? In as much as, everybody is waiting for the airdrop, there are still a lot of core believers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have this vibrant community rather than a dead echo chamber where it's just it's just a community member chatting with a couple users, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Some of those users might even be his out accounts chatting with himself back and forth just to spike activity. So that's basically that. That's one of the mistakes, not taking time to build a loyal community and just rushing everything and just attracting bots and fake people to the community.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the example you give just now, Mona and Eclipse, incredible example. I mean, the way they are going around building their community. You talk about some certain initiative and you're like, there's not enough time, but we have to employ you.
Yeah.
What are some of these initiatives that you think that these brands like Monad is doing that founders can actually take into consideration when they're building their brand? So when they sit and listen to this, they'll be like, I've not been doing this. I think I should start doing this. What are some of these initiatives that they can actually take into consideration here?
Okay. So I would focus on Monad, right? So you'd see that Monad does this, then Elixir. If you notice, I talk about Elixir too because I'm like I'm a very core community member. So what Monad did is they did how will I put it now? They created a closed circle, right? They called it a cult. Not a cult. It's a private community. It's a private community. For you to get into this community, you needed to show that, you believe in Monad, you are yapping about Monad and all of that. You get. And then they also had like roles. There was this role called NAD role. For you to get that NAD role, you had to be worthy of it, which is being engaged in the community and talking about Monad and all of that. Now, you won't say everybody getting this role believes in Monad because there are some people who want to get that role for the incentives. But if you realize, look at this kind of strategy, you'd see that if someone is just there for the gains, most of the people there for the gains, it eventually gets tiring because you have to chat for a long period of time. You have to actually earn it, right? Along the way, there's churn because people just fall off. They are not interested again. I was actually one of them because my guy was telling me I was actually early on Monad, right? I knew when you could actually just chat to a certain level to get the NAD role. But then I'm a person that I love doing what I enjoy. I'm not a fan of, talking. And if I don't, vibe with the tech or the ecosystem, I don't see something that makes me love it, that I can actually vibe naturally with it, I'll just take a hard pass on it. So they did this, they had the private community and cult where people needed to show themselves worthy and then they get added. And that's what Elixir did too. They had a private cult. It was about 4K users, downsized to 2K. Now it's about 700. These are people who are always yapping. Every week there are community campaigns, right? There are rituals, there are spells. You do that to end push on different things. So you'd see that when you do this kind of closed circle, right? It's your core believers. These are your core members. These are people who are ready to. They're always on Twitter shouting G Monad, right?
Yeah.
They are talking about Monad. They are talking about the tech, 10,000 TPS, this and that, Molandak and everything. And then you see that within that core circle, there's a wider circle, right, of people who are seeing the vibes, right? And they are loving those vibes. I'm trying so hard not to use the F word, right? They are loving those vibes. They are going with those vibes, right? And they want to be part of that thing. And that's community. People wanting to be part of the narrative. But that narrative has to be built out first. If that narrative is not built out at first, nobody wants to vibe with it, right? So you use your core community members to build that narrative, and eventually people vibe with it. And people, there are a lot of people, different people, right, for with different reasons. Some are actually there for the airdrops. Some are there because of the ecosystem. Okay, they've heard that this is actually fresh new tech, and there will be opportunities in that ecosystem. It could be job opportunities, it could be opportunity to make money, right? And they are there, they are core supporters. And from there, it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, that's the idea is just building that core narrative. And then there are plenty initiatives that are just fun. You know, there's that private community which of core believers from which the wider community is built upon.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the 700 that it has been downsized to would literally create the framework for the others to follow. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And this takes time. So it takes time to actually build, like you mentioned.
Exactly.
It's not something you can do in 3 months.
Yeah, sorry. Let me also chime in. I think I wanted to mention, yeah, Super Team is also doing great. You know, with that aspect. Like shout out to Harry and Nzube. Those guys are killing it. And you will also see that it's also easy because of their offering, right?
Yeah.
Another really important thing is you can also build a community easily when your product is like has good utility. People are vibing with it, right? Look at Super Team. They're a platform that enables anybody to just come and earn just for creating content and contributing to protocols.
Yeah.
And it solves a very, very big pain point in the ecosystem, which is earning. Exactly. So building the community is, you know, very easy. And then you add that with, you know, good gigabrain community campaigns, and bro, it's up only from there. So yeah, shout out to Super Team.
Is doing a lot. I mean, not just in Nigeria, across many countries.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's one in Germany, there's one in Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai, India.
Super Team community is
Germany.
incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, that's the Super Team. That's another massive thing. I'm hopeful to have Aribi on the podcast soon. My experience.
Yeah, would be great. Yeah, that would be great. I think that would be great to reach out to him, and that would be a banger.
Started the conversation to see exactly how they've done, because particularly what they've done in Nigeria, Super Team Nigeria is incredible. It's a state piece. Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. This is going to be the last question in this podcast session. I'm looking at your profile picture right now. What's the meaning of the cap?
Of what?
The cap. ST. There's the cap on your head. There's STWO. What does it mean?
Okay, that's two. So yeah, it's one of the. So you know, like I said, I'm a StackNet magazine, right? So everything StackNet. So that's a StackNet thing. If you notice, if you watch my recent video, I talked about it. Why everybody has been putting on that cap, right? So they basically just this too is like it's a prover, right? It's like what's the word now? A tech innovation from StackNet to make sure transactions are, you know, more scalable and faster, and computation is reduced and everything. So it's sort of like a community thing. So every StackNet magazine just put on that cap, you know, just like let's say it's marketing, you know, community marketing, sort of.
Yeah. What about when you added brother to your name?
It's still a StackNet thing. So there was a meme that launched on StackNet called StackNet Brothers. So the meme originated from Vitalik, right? So I think what's the history? And I think he was talking about StackNet or something. Was he talking about StackNet? Yeah. And then I think one of the Bankless brothers, yeah, okay, the day he talked about StackNet, then I think the next day one of the Bankless guys, right?
Yeah.
They were talking about layer twos and they were actually referring to StackNet, but they were not mentioning StackNet, right? And then Odin and a lot of people were like, yo, just say StackNet, brother. Say StackNet, brother. Like, just mention what you're referring to. And then the guy just said StackNet, brother. And then he just turned into a meme. And, he just
Yeah.
poof, moved like crazily. I think it went from how much? I think I saw it at 90K. It went to as high as 7 million market cap. I made good money on it, but then I round tripped it,
Yeah.
I'm a maxi. I don't dump. So yeah.
Yeah.
So all
And
of us, if you see anybody with a brother behind their name, just know that
StackNet.
it's a StackNet guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for founders who we were talking about core community, that's an attitude of core community. I mean, I just remember back in the day where communities you change your banner and you change your bio.
Yeah.
You remember those days now, yeah, where you'd
Yeah,
have
exactly.
your name on your bio, you have the products NFTs or whatever on your banners, and
Yeah.
yeah, it used to be incredible, and I think it's really exciting to see. Ubong, it's been a pleasure to have you here. I have to be honest. Sort of an exciting conversation. I'm very sure many people learned a lot. I did, and I am hopeful we can bring you back some other time.
Yeah. To be a pleasure. This is like my first time doing this. I was actually scared. You remember you told me about it a long
Yeah,
time ago.
yeah, yeah,
I was a bit
yeah.
reluctant at first, but I was like, nah, F it, just do it.
Definitely, yeah.
Just do it.